The desert is already quiet when you arrive. Heat shimmers above the hard-packed road. A pale wind drifts by, dry and steady, carrying fine dust that settles on your boots like flour. Your canteen bumps gently against your hip with each step. Not empty, but light enough that you're aware of it. Ahead, the outpost appears the way things do in the desert. Not rising suddenly, not announcing itself, just becoming visible. A low line of buildings, adobe and timber, shade cloth stretched between posts like calm, dark sails. A water barrel by the gate. A few scrap metal wind chimes offer a soft, irregular clink, as if the place is reminding itself to breathe. You slow down as you enter. The air changes immediately, not cooler exactly, but gentler. The shade takes the edge off the sun, and for a moment the world feels less sharp. A hand-painted sign hangs from a beam near the main walkway. The lettering is faded, the paint cracked from years of light. Hollowstone Outpost. Water, rest, work. Under that, in smaller writing, added later by somebody with a sense of humor. No guarantees. You find yourself smiling without meaning to. Your pack shifts on your shoulders. The strap rubs the same spot it's been rubbing since morning. Familiar little annoyance. The kind that makes you feel real. And as you step farther in, you notice what the outpost is built around. Not the saloon. Not the storehouse. Not even the water. It's built around a dark opening in the ground. A mine entrance set into stone, framed by timbers bleached pale by sun. A heavy gate stands open, just a little like a mouth that never quite closes. Beside it is a board covered in posted notes. Some written carefully, some scrawled fast, most pinned down with old nails. The board is shaded, and a couple of people stand there reading, murmuring softly. You drift closer, and there it is, a note that looks older than the others. Not ancient, just handled, folded and unfolded, pinned and repinned. The paper is thick and fibrous, like it was made by someone who knows how to make do. Across the top, in neat ink, wanted, a steady hand. Below that, rare gemstones have been seen in the deep seams, not near the upper shafts, not where the easy ore is, lower, past the old rails, past the dry echo. The stones are real. The way to them is not simple. Your eyes move down the page. Some say a beast watches the seam. Some say it's friendly. Some say it's hungry. Most agree on one thing. It does not like shouting. At the bottom is a mark, a small stamp pressed into the paper, a circle with a line through it, and a little starburst shape beneath. You look at it a second longer than you need to, then you hear a voice close by. First time at Hollowstone? You turn. A woman stands under the shade cloth, wiping her hands on a simple apron. There's dust on her knuckles like she's been handling sacks all day. Her hair is tied back with a strip of cloth. Her face has that calm desert look, sun-worn, not unhappy, just seasoned. She nods toward your boots. Those are new. You glance down. Your left boot gives a tiny squeak. You shift your weight. The squeak repeats. The woman's mouth twitches. Yeah, you admit quietly. They're still getting acquainted with me. She steps closer to the board. Gem talk. Her tone is casual, like she's discussing weather. People come through here every season thinking they'll pick treasure off the ground like fallen fruit. She taps one line on the paper. The stones are real. The way to them is not simple. That part is true, she says. Then she tilts her head slightly. And you're reading it like someone who doesn't mind a little effort. You don't answer right away. The outpost feels steady. The shade. The faint clink of wind chimes. The smell of coffee and warmed bread somewhere nearby. It's hard to imagine danger in a place that smells like routine. Where's the entrance to the lower shafts? You ask. She studies you for a moment. Name's Sarah, she says. I run the supply table. Water, lamp oil, rope. The things that matter more than courage. She nods toward the mine gate. The lower way isn't the main tunnel. Her voice stays soft. Main tunnel goes straight and loud. It echoes. It carries. She pauses. The lower way is quieter. Starts behind the ore shed. She gestures toward a low building with a tin roof. Old service shaft. Ladder down. Old rail line. Cooler air. Cooler. Sarah's eyes flick back to the note. And the tricky part isn't getting down, she adds. It's the seam. What's tricky about it? You ask. She exhales, almost a laugh. The gemstones sit in a pocket like they were placed there on purpose. She shapes the air with her hands. A narrow ledge, and below it, a drop. Your shoulders feel the weight of your pack again. Not heavy, just present. And the pocket is... You search. Awkward, Sarah supplies. You can see the stones, see them sparkle, but you can't just take them. She lowers her hands. Too high for a simple grab, too low for comfort, and the rock crumbles if you rush. You imagine it. Lantern glow, stone, slow breath, and the beast? You ask quietly. Sarah's expression doesn't change. Some call it a beast, some a guardian, some an old story. She glances toward the mine, not fearfully, respectfully. I think the mine has its own way of being alive. She sets a bundle in front of you. Rope, a squat lantern, piece of chalk. The chalk is for the turns, she says. The rope is for the ledge. The lantern is for your nerves. She nudges your canteen. And drink before you go down. Desert makes people brave in stupid ways. You take a sip. The water is warm but clean. Settles you. One more thing, she says. You look up. If the mine gets very quiet, quieter than it should be, she taps the note. It does not like shouting. Don't fill the silence, she says. Just move slow. You nod. And for a moment the outpost feels like it's holding its breath with you. Not in tension, but in patience. Somewhere beyond the shade cloth, the desert sun continues on. Bright, steady, unbothered. And beneath your feet, cool stone, old rails, and the faint sense of something waiting. Not rushing you, not chasing you, just watching how you behave. You adjust your pack. You take the rope, you lift the lantern, and you walk toward the ore shed, toward the quieter entrance, and the steps leading down into the ground. You step behind the ore shed, and the sounds of the outpost soften almost immediately. The wind chimes fade. Voices blur into a low murmur. Even the desert wind seems to pass you by. The service entrance is set low into the rock, half hidden by stacked timbers and an old canvas tarp that smells faintly of dust and oil. Someone has tied it back with rope that's gone stiff with age. You pause there for a moment, not to hesitate, just to listen. Nothing rushes you. You unhook the lantern from your pack and light it. The flame catches slowly, steady and patient, filling the glass with a warm, amber glow. Shadows pull back from the stone walls, revealing the mouth of the shaft. A ladder descends into the ground. Wooden rungs, worn smooth at the center, darkened where countless hands and boots have passed. You grip the rope with one hand, the ladder with the other, and begin the climb down. The desert heat leaves you gradually, not all at once, just enough that you notice your shoulders relax. The air grows cooler, denser. It carries the scent of stone and old earth, clean in a way the surface never quite manages. Your boots touch packed dirt at the bottom. The ladder ends in a small chamber carved straight into the rock. Tool marks are still visible in the walls, careful, deliberate work. Not rushed. This place was made by people who expected to return. You lift the lantern higher. A narrow tunnel stretches ahead, reinforced with timber beams that creak softly as the ground settles around them. Old rail tracks run down the center, half buried in dust, their metal dulled by time. You take a slow step forward. The sound of your boot echoes once, then fades. Sarah had mentioned the echo. You listen. Nothing answers. Good. You draw a short line of chalk on the wall beside the entrance. Simple, clear, pointing back the way you came. Then you follow the rails. The tunnel slopes gently downward. Enough that you feel it in your knees, but not so steep that it demands effort. Your breathing stays even. The lantern swings lightly at your side, its glow revealing small details as you pass. An old pick left leaning against the wall. A broken crate with faded markings. A coil of rope that's gone brittle and pale. Everything here feels paused, as if the mine isn't abandoned, just resting. After a while, long enough that time starts to stretch, you feel it. The quiet changes. Not louder, just deeper. Your footsteps stop echoing altogether. The tunnel widens into a larger chamber, the ceiling arching higher than the lantern can fully illuminate. The air here is cooler still, brushing your skin like water. This must be the intermediate chamber Sarah mentioned. You step off the rails and let the lantern rest on a flat stone. The light pools outward, revealing branching passages, 3 of them. One narrow and rough, barely more than a crawl. One wide and straight, reinforced heavily with clearer tracks. And one that curves away gently, the stone smoother, the walls marked with faint, pale lines. You crouch near the curved passage. The lines aren't scratches. They're mineral seams, thin, subtle, catching the lantern light just enough to shimmer. Your chest tightens, not with fear, but with recognition. This is the direction. Before you go farther, you sit. Just for a moment, you take a drink from your canteen. The water tastes the same as before, but down here it feels different, more necessary. You cork it again and listen. There's a sound, so faint you might miss it if you weren't already still. A slow, rhythmic presence. Not footsteps, not breathing, more like weight shifting, stones settling, something large, far away, adjusting itself. You remember Sarah's words. Don't fill the silence. So you don't. You stand, lift the lantern, and move into the curved passage. The walls draw closer here, the ceiling lowering slightly. The air feels older, untouched. Your lantern reveals more of the pale mineral lines, threading through the stone like veins. Occasionally, one flares with color, deep red, cool blue, a muted green. Gemstone, not loose, still part of the rock. After several careful steps, the passage opens again. This chamber is smaller, more intimate. The floor drops away at one side, forming a shallow bowl before plunging deeper into darkness. And there, across the gap, you see it. The seam. It sits in the stone like a deliberate offering. A narrow ledge, just wide enough for careful footing, runs along the far wall. Above it, tucked into a pocket in the rock, gemstones catch the lantern light and return it tenfold. Soft glints, quiet color, patient beauty. You can reach them, not easily. The drop below the ledge disappears into shadow. Not endless, but far enough to demand respect. You set the lantern down and uncoil the rope. Your hands move slowly, methodically. No wasted motion. You anchor the rope around a solid outcropping near the entrance of the chamber, testing it with your weight. The stone holds. Good. You chalk another mark behind you. Then, as you prepare to step onto the ledge, you feel it again. That presence. Closer now. Not behind you. Not in front of you. Above. You lift the lantern just a little. High in the shadows near the chamber ceiling, something reflects the light. 2 points. Not sharp, not bright, warm, like eyes half closed in rest. You freeze. The presence does not move. It does not advance. It does not retreat. Simply remains. Watching, you realize with a quiet certainty that this is not a moment for bravery. It's a moment for manners. You lower the lantern slightly. You breathe out. "I'll be careful," you say softly. Not to the stone, not to yourself, to the space. The presence shifts. A low sound rolls through the chamber. Not a growl, not a warning. More like acknowledgement. You step onto the ledge. Slowly, the stone holds beneath your boot. The gemstones wait. And above you, unseen but aware, the watcher remains still. Not guarding the treasure from you, but watching to see how gently you take it. The ledge feels narrower once you're standing on it. Not dangerously so, just honest. Stone presses close to your left shoulder, cool through your sleeve. To your right, the drop waits, patient, dark, uninterested in your confidence. You test the rope once more. It holds. The lantern rests behind you, its light angled so it doesn't glare off the stone. Enough to see, not enough to shout. You remember Sarah's voice. Too high for comfort, too low for ease. She was right. You move one step at a time. Slow, balanced, each foot placed with intention. The gemstones sit in their pocket ahead, nestled into the rock like they've always belonged there. They aren't large, not the kind people imagine when they hear stories, but they're beautiful. Deep reds like embers cooled just enough to touch. Blues that seem to hold water light inside them. A muted green that catches and releases the glow with every small movement. You reach the midpoint of the ledge and stop. Not because you have to, because you should. You listen. The chamber remains quiet. The rope does not creak. The stone does not protest. Above you, the watcher remains. You don't look up this time. You don't need to. You know it's there the same way you know the weight of your pack or the rhythm of your breath. Present. Aware. You shift your stance and reach toward the pocket. The stone around the gemstones is crumbly, just as Sarah said. You brush it lightly with your fingertips and feel grains fall away, tapping softly as they disappear into the dark below. So you adjust. You don't pull. You coax. Careful pressure. A gentle twist, letting the rock decide when it's ready to release. One gemstone loosens, not suddenly. It slides into your palm like it's been waiting for this exact moment. Warm, not hot, not cold, just alive in a quiet way. You hold it still for a breath. Then another. The chamber does not react. No sound, no movement. Encouraged, you reach again. But this time, the stone shifts more than you expect. A small cascade of grit breaks free. It skitters down the ledge, then vanishes into the drop with a faint, delayed echo. You freeze. Your muscles lock. Not in panic, but in control. The watcher moves. Not toward you. Not away. The presence shifts its weight, and a low sound rolls through the chamber again. Closer now. It isn't anger. It isn't warning. It's interest. You lower your hand and stay still. "I won't rush," you say quietly. Your voice feels small here, but not unwelcome. You wait. Seconds stretch, then soften. The presence settles again, higher in the shadows. The chamber exhales. Only then do you continue. This time you take just one more gemstone. Not the brightest, not the largest. One that sits at the edge of the pocket, ready to go. Comes free easily. You tuck it carefully into a padded pouch in your pack. And then you stop. You look at what remains. The pocket still holds more. Enough to tempt. enough to justify another reach. But the watcher has not moved. It has not stopped you. It has simply watched how you behave. You think of the outpost, of the quiet routines, of Sarah's hands, dusty and practical. You think of the mine itself, not as a place to be emptied, but as a place to be visited. You close the pouch. That's enough, you say, not aloud this time, but with your hands, your movements, your restraint. The presence above you shifts once more. This time, the sound is different, softer, almost pleased. You step back along the ledge. Slowly, deliberately, the return feels easier. Not because the stone has changed, but because you have. When your boots touch solid ground again, you let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding. You coil the rope. You lift the lantern. Before you turn away, you pause and look up. The shadows near the ceiling remain deep, but for just a moment you catch the faintest outline. Not sharp, not monstrous. A large, ancient shape curled comfortably into the stone, like it has always belonged there, watching, not guarding treasure from thieves, but learning which visitors can be trusted. You incline your head, a small gesture, respectful. The watcher does not move. You turn back toward the curved passage, chalking a final mark as you go. The mine feels different now, not quieter, not louder, just settled. As you follow the rails back toward the ladder, the lantern light seems warmer. The air feels less heavy. When you climb, the cool stone gives way slowly to the dry breath of the desert, step by step, until at last you emerge behind the shed. The sun is lower now, its light softer, more forgiving. The outpost sounds drift back to you. The clink of metal, a voice calling, the creak of wood. Sarah looks up as you approach. She doesn't ask how much you brought. She looks at your face instead, then at your hands. Then she nods. Good, she says simply. You hand her one gemstone, just one. Her eyebrows lift, not in surprise but in understanding. That'll do, she says, for the work, and for the way you did it. She glances once, briefly, toward the mine. Some things, she adds, aren't meant to be taken all at once. You feel the weight of the remaining stone in your pack. Light, earned. The desert wind passes through the shade cloth again, slow and steady, and beneath your feet, far below, the mine rests, watching, waiting, not for the next person, but for the next right one. The light is softer now, not evening yet, but no longer midday. The sun has lowered just enough to take the edge off itself, casting longer shadows across the outpost and turning the dust in the air into something almost golden. You move more slowly as you cross the packed ground, not from fatigue, from fullness, the kind that comes from finishing something the right way. Sarah is at the supply table again, rearranging items that don't really need rearranging. She glances up as you pass, gives a small nod, and goes back to her work. No questions, no ceremony, just understanding. You find a low bench near the water barrel and sit. The wood is warm beneath you, holding the day's heat without insisting on it. You loosen the straps of your pack and let it rest at your feet. Feels lighter than it should, not because there's less inside, but because you're carrying it differently. You take another drink. The water is still warm, still clean, still enough. Around you, the outpost continues its quiet rhythm. Someone laughs briefly, then stops. Metal taps against metal. A canvas flap lifts and settles. Nothing urgent, nothing demanding. You rest your hands on your knees and let your breathing match the place. Slow enough that the world has time to keep up. For a moment you think about the mine, about the ledge, the pocket of stone, the presence that watched without interfering. You don't replay it, You don't analyze it. You simply acknowledge that it's there, beneath the ground, unchanged. You stand when you're ready, not when you think you should. You walk back toward the edge of the outpost, where the road stretches away into the desert. The same road you came in on. It looks no different. Still flat, still pale, still patient. Your boots leave shallow prints as you walk. They don't last long. The wind takes care of them. You pause just beyond the shade cloth and look back once. The sign hangs where it was. Hollowstone Outpost. Water, rest, work. No guarantees. Feels less like a warning now, more like honesty. You turn forward again. The desert opens. Wide, quiet, unimpressed. And as you walk, the sounds of the outpost soften behind you, thinning into the same low hush that greeted you before. The canteen bumps gently against your hip. Not empty, but light enough that you're aware of it. The heat shimmers above the hard-packed road. A pale wind drifts by, dry and steady, carrying fine dust that settles on your boots like flour. Head, the outpost will appear again, not rising suddenly, not announcing itself, just becoming visible. And beneath it, unseen but unchanged, the mine waits, not for urgency, not for noise, just for those who arrive quietly and know how to listen.